We spend so much time looking at our plant's leaves, the flowers, the stems, but what if I told you that the most important signs of its health are completely hidden from view? So today, we're going to go underground to decode the secret language of roots.
And I'm serious here. A plant can look perfectly happy up top while it's actually fighting a battle for its life right below the surface. The signs are there, you just have to know where and, how to look. And the place to look, the real ground zero for info, is the root tip. This tiny, dynamic little thing is like the plant's brain and its mouth all rolled into one. And its color? It gives you an instant diagnostic window into how that plant is really doing. Okay, so before we can start diagnosing problems, we've got to know what good looks like, right? What does a perfectly happy, healthy root tip actually look like? So the gold standard, what you're really aiming for, is this translucent, white, or kind of creamy color. And that color tells you one thing and one thing only. That plant is growing like crazy. It's not wasting energy on defense, it's not dealing with damage, it's just putting all its resources into expanding and exploring. This is what peak performance looks like.
Yeah, and it's way more than just an anchor holding the plant down. The root tip is constantly sensing everything: gravity, moisture, nutrients, navigating its way through the world. It's where all the action is. So any change from that perfect white color, that's a huge signal that something in its environment is off.
All right, now for the really cool part. I want you to think of yourself as a plant doctor for a minute. We're going to open up 3 different case files, and each one is represented by a different color. Let's learn how to read the symptoms.
Okay, case file number 1. This one's a little counterintuitive. You see green, you think photosynthesis. That's a good thing, right? Well, not so fast, especially when it comes to roots. So yeah, the green is from chlorophyll, just like in the leaves, but down in the roots, it's a totally different story. It's basically a sign of an environmental fault. It's telling you something is wrong with your setup.
Look, roots are meant to be in the dark, period. If they're turning green, it's a dead giveaway that light is getting into your system somewhere. Now, this is a pretty minor stressor, but it does force the plant to waste energy it doesn't need to. It also encourages algae to grow, which then competes for food and oxygen. The fix? It's pretty simple, actually. You just got to find that light leak and seal it up tight. Okay, let's move on to our next case file. This one's a much bigger deal. If you're seeing red or even purple tips, listen up, because your plant is screaming at you that it's in a fight.
And you really want to pay attention to this one. This color comes from something called anthocyanins. They're powerful antioxidant pigments. When you see red, it means the plant has literally flipped a switch. It's gone from growth mode right into defense mode. It's actively responding to stress.
So what's it defending itself from? Well, there are usually 3 main culprits. The most common is a phosphorus deficiency. That's a nutrient that's absolutely critical for energy. The second is cold stress. The plant makes these pigments to kind of harden itself against the cold. And last, really high light can also trigger it. Seeing red is your signal to immediately check your nutrients, your pH, and your temperature.
And that brings us to our last case file. And honestly, this is the most critical one. If red is an alarm bell, well, brown is a full-blown 5-alarm fire. This is a sign of very serious trouble. When you see brown or black, that means necrosis, and that's just a fancy word for cell death. This isn't a stress response anymore. This is a signal of actual damage, decay. It's a potential system failure. Yeah, in hospital terms, this is a code blue for your plant. So what causes this? A few really nasty things, actually. Number 1 suspect is almost always a pathogen, like that dreaded pythium, which is basically root rot. The browning is the tissue literally rotting away. Other causes could be a chemical burn from way too many nutrients or even physical damage from heat. The big takeaway here is that this kind of damage is often irreversible. Okay, so let's be super clear on this, because the difference between red and brown is everything. Red means the plant is still in the fight. It's an active defense. It's a stress signal, and it's usually reversible if you fix the problem. Brown? That means cells are dead. The fight for that part of the root is already over. It's a damage signal. So think of it this way. Red is the warning, brown is the postmortem.
All right, so we've learned how to read the symptoms. We're diagnosticians now. But what's the cure? Let's turn this diagnosis into a solid action plan.
Here's your prescription. It's pretty simple. You see green? Put on your detective hat and find every single light leak. Block them all. Seeing red? Time to play chemist. First stop, check your pH and your temperature. Those are often the culprits that lock out nutrients. And if you see brown, well, you gotta act like a surgeon, and fast. This is likely root rot, and it can spread like wildfire. You need to investigate? cut out any dead tissue, and figure out where that contamination is coming from before it kills the whole plant.
Look, using your own eyes is an amazing tool. But where is all this heading? The future? It's all about taking our human guesswork out of the picture.
I mean, our eyes are pretty good, but they're subjective, right? What I call light red, you might call pink. The next wave of tech is going to give us hard, objective data about the health of our roots.
And here's how it's going to work. AI and machine vision can scan the roots and tell you, hey, exactly 12% of your root tips are showing red discoloration. Then machine learning can link that with your real-time data, your water temp, your nutrient levels, and pinpoint the exact cause. And even better, predictive models are coming that can warn you about stress before the roots even change color, which means we can go from just reacting to problems to actually preventing them before they even start. That's a game changer.
I just love this quote because it really gets to the heart of it. It's not just some passive straw sucking up water. It's a dynamic engine, constantly sensing, reacting, and absorbing. And keeping that engine tuned up and running smoothly, that's the real secret to a thriving plant.
So, next time you go to check on your plants, don't just glance at the leaves. Take a peek below the surface. You've basically just learned a whole new language, a secret language. The only question is, what are your roots waiting to tell you?